Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess if the Democrats refuse to do their damn job, well then it's time to play chess. There's obviously a crisis at the southern border. It's not a partisan talking point like Karine Jean-Pierre would like you to believe. In fact, even some Democrats at this point seem to be coming over to our side, condemning federal inaction, John Fetterman, the latest one.
There's a crisis at the border, and I don't know how anybody could pretend that there isn't.
It's also obviously a Democrat crisis, and as we've seen Operation Lone Star ramp up, Operation Lone Star being Governor Greg Abbott's and the Texas Department of Public Safety's plan of busing migrants to Democrat sanctuary cities, well, as that plan continues to roll out and especially ramp up, it's obviously triggering a response. You'd expect the common sense response would be something along the lines of accepting responsibility for being part of this crisis, in a sense sharing responsibility across the states, but especially in states that declared themselves sanctuary cities, and maybe addressing some of the rhetoric and policy issues at the core of this crisis to begin with, but of course not. Instead, we're in a chess match, but here's the thing. Eric Adams is playing checkers and Greg Abbott seems to be playing chess. He's got him freaking cornered, folks. And Governor Greg Abbott just absolutely owned Eric Adams in possibly the most legendary way you could imagine. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we obviously know that New York City is struggling to cope with the migrant crisis that they're a part of. We all know the infamous tweet from Eric Adams, "We should protect our immigrants, period." New York City will remain a sanctuary city under an Adams administration. That's how it started when he was campaigning for office. Then, of course, Governor Greg Abbott said, well, I guess it's time to start shipping him over to New York. Eric Adams is literally asking for him. Then, of course, fast forward 12 months, Eric Adams is talking about how the immigration crisis will, quote, destroy New York. Well, now he's trying to fight back. That's what I mean by we're playing chess here. New York City Sanctuary Mayor Eric Adams announces lawsuit against 17 charter bus companies involved in busing migrants from Texas as a part of Governor Abbott's operation. Adams says that New York City is seeking $700 million in damages to recoup costs of providing shelter and services to migrants. And so now Eric Adams is targeting the busing companies. He also issued an executive order attempting to stop these busing companies from entering New York with illegal migrants. CBS News reported on the topic by writing, "Just call it the Empire State Strikes Back," with a bold counterpunch to Abbott. That was the initial reporting. Eric Adams BTFOs Greg Abbott with massive lawsuit and executive order. And then what Governor Greg Abbott did was absolutely perfect. Instead of shipping the migrants directly to New York, now what he's doing is shipping them to New Jersey, where they can simply take a ferry and go along their merry way, totally unobstructed thanks to Joe Biden's federal policies. Another part where Greg Abbott absolutely owns Eric Adams, owning him on the law.
I'm a former Texas Supreme Court Justice and former Texas Attorney General. I know the law, and Eric Adams does not know the law. The Commerce Clause to the United States Constitution, as well as a United States Supreme Court recognized doctrine of the right to travel, means that once the Biden administration has authorized these migrants to be in the United States, they have the constitutional right to travel to New York City. So what Eric Adams is doing is filing a baseless lawsuit denying these migrants of their right to travel to New York City. He's going to lose and lose badly, and I hope he's forced to pay attorney's fees.
And so now I guess it's a 2-for-1, as the Democrat governor of New Jersey is now hitting the panic button as well. New Jersey governor is now seeking to restrict bus companies used by Greg Abbott for migrant transports. Democratic New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy sent a letter to bus companies used by Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott to transport migrants, seeking to restrict their arrival to his state. The charter buses have been arriving in New Jersey after Democratic New York City Mayor Eric Adams signed an executive order to require that they provide a 32-hour notice of their arrival and subsequently sued bus companies over the transports. Murphy asked that the bus companies provide the same amount of notice, number of passengers, location, and other details regarding the transports and their arrivals and departures. And so now we have multiple Democrats from multiple different states. As we know, Operation Lone Star is targeting Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Denver, Los Angeles, and now add New Jersey to the list by essentially bombarding them with illegal migrant transports. And they're all singing the same tune, Governor Greg Abbott bad, Governor Greg Abbott bad, political pawns, all the same bullshit rhetoric. But at the end of the day, they have only themselves to blame, obviously, and they clearly have no standing to restrict anybody's movement. The simple fact of the matter, actually, with most of these migrants, is that Texas is simply doing them a solid, doing them a favor, not only sending them to a sanctuary city that supposedly wanted them there in the first place, but also just sending the people to where they want to go. Most of these illegal migrants, when asked, where do you want to go? Well, they say New York City. And so Governor Greg Abbott is simply being a good guy, a good pal, by paying for a premium bus tour straight to the Big Apple. I don't see the problem. All I see is idiotic Democrats essentially shooting themselves in the foot on a repeated basis, then acting all confused like confused and shocked Pikachu when they realize the reality of their situation. They're doing everything that they possibly can to avoid responsibility for their own policies and rhetoric, and Governor Greg Abbott is outplaying them at every single point. It's totally genius. He's playing hardball, and sure, he's trolling a little bit, but it's all justified because he's 100% in the right. Headlines that read like this: Democratic mayor is furious when buses of illegal migrants show up in his city and says they're not welcome here. The only reaction is, well, you don't have the right to be furious. You also don't have the right to say they're not welcome here when you literally invited them. You don't get to rob a store, then face the consequences of your action, I don't know, get arrested, and then complain as if you're the victim, countersue the police department and the state for supposed unjust treatment. You know, the question that I'm asking myself is, when will Democrats finally take responsibility for their actions? Of course, we know it's a rhetorical question, it's a dumb question. When your teachers told you there's no such thing as a dumb question, they lied. That's a dumb question. And the proof is once again in Eric Adams' response. After getting bombarded with illegal migrants from Texas, he didn't denounce the whole sanctuary city thing. He's being real soft with the Biden administration. Zero accountability, zero responsibility. Instead, what's he doing? Trying to, I guess, hit back at Republicans in a very weird way, as New York City is now shutting down schools in order to use them as illegal migrant shelters.
Parents in Brooklyn outraged after the city decided to use their kids' school to house migrants who had to be evacuated from the Floyd Bennett Field during yesterday's storm.
The decision forced the school to shift to remote learning for the day. Jessica Formoso takes a look at how the city is addressing that disruption.
You're calling them dirty. You're equating them. You're equating them.
Tensions running high outside James Madison High School in Brooklyn Wednesday morning, where nearly 2,000 migrants spent the night braving the storm.
Our kids should not be used. The school should not be used. It's a sectionary for the learning. Our kids supposed to be here feeling safe and be able to learn.
The city's decision to relocate migrant families from Floyd Bennett Field to the high school didn't sit well with parents and local officials who say the administration put the needs of the migrants ahead of their children.
Literally taking kids out of school, canceling school for the day to house illegal migrants in a public school in, guess what, in one of the few Republican-leaning districts near Manhattan. Here's a map of that district where that exact school is. It's a red map. From what I've read online, mostly Eastern Europeans who don't like communism, and so Eric Adams, I guess, is attempting to send a message saying we're going to take those migrants, we're going to take this migrant crisis and put the burden on Republican voting districts in New York State. Absolutely pathetic, and once again shows you exactly who these people are, who keep going on and on and on about how, I don't know, borders are racist or something, with all the typical hippie talking points. In fact, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said this not too long ago. We just made a video on it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez happens to be a New York Democrat.
From all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship.
Solving the illegal migrant crisis by creating more pathways to citizenship for people who break the law by illegally crossing the border. I mean, just genius stuff. That's you. That's your party. You guys should be bearing the brunt of the responsibility, not Texas. But what's Eric Adams gonna do? Of course, left-wing Democrat New York City isn't gonna deal with the crisis that they're a part of. No, they're gonna push it on to small Republican districts. Absolutely disgraceful, but really a desperate play, because Eric Adams knows he's being outclassed and outplayed at every single point by Governor Greg Abbott. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.